Attack of the Dragonflies today. Oh. And this section right here, you guys get the Copper Tone Award. Woohoo! Maybe we can get some sponsorship. All right, it's Father's Day. It's Father's Day today, and I have a 5-year-old boy. Actually, I have 2 boys, one 5, one 2, and so I've been a father for about 5 years. But there's one thing I've learned about being a father. It's not the easiest job in the world. Dads, do you agree with me? Dads, do you agree with me? Thank you. Are you alive? Come on. Yeah, it's hard work being a dad. You mothers have no idea. Oh, my wife gave me a look. Not only are we fathers expected to be strong, dependable providers, but we're expected to be sensitive. Our wives want us to be nurturing. We're supposed to have feelings. I don't think you women understand how hard that is. Guys, amen? Yeah. We're supposed to be responsible for family finances, for things like budgeting, yet willing to hand that credit card out anytime we're asked. Guys, amen? Yeah. And guys, we're supposed to be experts at things like full contact sports, and but yet we're also supposed to be able to dress a Barbie or attend an imaginary tea party. We're supposed to know how to gut a deer while also being able to answer that age-old question of our kids, Daddy, where did babies come from? Huh? We're expected to be Arnold Palmer on the golf course, Babe Winkleman in the boat. We're supposed to have the physique of a bodybuilder. Guys, it's not easy, amen? And we've got to be humble, too. We got to be humble. I mean, how many times can a guy hear from his kids or wife, you're not really going to wear that in public, are you? It's not easy. It's not easy being us. You ladies don't understand. Dads, we're conflicted people. We are. We're conflicted. Seriously, though, there are all kinds of expectations, I think. There are expectations out there. Expectations that we put on ourselves. There are those expectations we put on other people. And it's not only dads. It's not only fathers, but mothers, too. And for that matter, it's our kids, too. We put all kinds of expectations on them. We're all supposed to be perfect in every way, right? We're supposed to be everything to everyone. And we want to live up to everyone's expectations, right? We've got to do this. And then we believe that we can be everything to everyone. If I work hard enough, I can do it. If I just get my act together, I can do it all on my own. I can be everything to everyone, all on my own. Well, today in our reading, Jesus finds himself at dinner at the table of a Pharisee. The Pharisees in church days, way back when, in ancient days, the Pharisees were the pious church folk. They were the church elders, the church council members, Sunday school teachers of the day. And so Jesus he's dining at the home of one of these pious churchmen's house. And when all of a sudden, a woman, and not just any woman, the Bible tells us, but a woman with a reputation, when the Bible calls a woman a sinner, that means she's a prostitute. And this woman busts in, and not only does she take a seat at the table, but she starts weeping right at Jesus' feet. She goes right to Jesus and starts kissing his feet. It's this crazy scene from the Bible. I imagine Jesus sitting there at that dinner. On the one side, you've got this pious church guy with all his moral standards, and then you've got this wild prostitute woman who barges in and rushes right at Jesus. And I imagine the Pharisees looking at Jesus suspicious, wondering what he's up to, saying things like, Jesus, it seems this woman knows you pretty well. I don't know about you, Jesus. What's she doing here? And when Jesus gets this sort of suspicious look, he gets questioned. Jesus responds to these folks. He responds as he often does in times like this. Jesus tells a story. And it gets a little complicated, but you're smart people. You can bear with me here. He tells a parable about a man who forgives the debts of 2 people he's loaned money to. Jesus tells a story of how he loaned one guy $50 and $500 to the other. And when they couldn't pay this debt back, the man forgave them both. And so Jesus asked this Pharisee, this churchman, he says to this man, which do you think should be more grateful? And of course the Pharisee answers, the one forgiven of the greater debt. Jesus says, yeah, you're right. But then Jesus goes on and he does something interesting. He goes on to compare this Pharisee, this churchman, with this woman, this prostitute woman. Did you see the woman's extravagant love for me, he says. Did you see her hospitality? She knows she hasn't lived a perfect life. Her debts are great. Her debt is so great. And yet she knows she's been forgiven. And she's grateful. She's acting as though she's really forgiven. She's grateful. But you don't believe that you need forgiveness, Mr. Pharisee guy. The Pharisees believe, he believes that he's perfect in every way and that he can handle life all on his own. He thinks he's got it all together and he's never done anything wrong. But then in there, Jesus, he steps back and he forgives them both. He forgives both the woman whose need is apparent and he gives this Pharisee forgiveness, the one who doesn't think he needs it at all. When I think about this story, I think in the end what it tells us, when it comes to the greater story of our faith, I think what it gets at, this story explains to us the whole reason I think Jesus ended up on the cross. Bear with me here, but I think it's not his teaching, it's not his preaching, it's not his healing or feeding that gets Jesus killed. It's that he forgave people. He forgave them all. He forgave those who needed it, who knew they needed it, as well as those who thought they were just fine all on their own. And folks, that was a problem for people way back when. Because forgiveness, you see, implies that you have a need. It implies that you're not perfect. It implies that you can't do it all on your own. There's nothing better than receiving forgiveness when you need it, but when you don't need it, wow. There's nothing that's more offensive than being forgiven for something you don't think you need to be forgiven for, if you think you've got everything under control. And folks, in the end, I think this is what gets Jesus killed. And truth be told, I think it's why we do the same to him again today. You see, we're kind of like those ancient people. We don't like to admit it, but we're kind of like them. None of us, not one of us, I don't think, wants to admit that we have needs. We want to believe that we can live life on our own, that we can be perfect. We don't want to believe that we can't be everything to everybody. Because admitting that we can't be everything to everybody demolishes this sort of illusion that we live with. That we can handle everything on our own. That we can do it all. That we can be everything to everybody. Folks, it started way back with Adam and Eve at the garden. They had this hunger to live life on their own, the desire to say, no thank you, I'm fine on my own, God. Most of the time, folks, I think we're able to act as though I can do it all on my own. We believe we can live that illusion. Until we have moments where we gather with people like this, gather in crowds like this, and we look around and we know that there are folks in the crowd who are broken, who are hurting. There are folks who have needs. In fact, maybe we're one of them. We look around that crowd and we say, they're people just like me. People like you and me. People who thought they could handle everything on their own. People like you and me. And each week we celebrate communion. And we do that to sort of dispel this illusion that we can live life on our own. And we don't need anybody else, especially not God. You know, when you come forward to receive communion, it's kind of this act of admitting, of remembering that, yeah, I'm not perfect. I can't do it all on my own. But I don't have to live all on my own. We have a God who's always there, always walking with us. And we've got this great big community of people of faith who are walking with us too. And this God of ours, this God knows all the crazy expectations that are on us, whether we're a dad or a mom or a son or a daughter. A God who knows we think we can do it alone and yet comes for us. I guess that's what love does. God refuses our belief that we can do it all on our own. And in the end, I think that's why we tell this crazy story. All right, guys, you got a bobber. Hold your bobber up. Hold the bobber up. It's Father's Day, so dads get those. I think sometimes having looking at those bobbers, you've been fishing, a bobber floats. If it didn't float, there wouldn't be much point to having a bobber. But I think being a parent, maybe being a dad, is kind of like, well, a bobber, huh? Sometimes it feels like we're just trying to keep things afloat. If you're a young parent, it's running your kids to this or to that, the crazy rat race. If you're a grandparent or an older parent, it's worrying about your kids and then your grandkids, that they're going to turn out okay. Being a dad is sometimes kind of like just keeping things afloat, keeping things in balance. I want you, dads, to take that bobber, stick it in your pocket, and this week, maybe keep it there all week long. Maybe you'll set it up by your bed somewhere. Put it somewhere that you remember. I want you to think about, when you grab that bobber out of your pocket, to think about maybe it's not us that's doing all the work keeping this life of ours afloat. That maybe we have a God who's there supporting us, holding us up. Maybe it's God who's keeping this life of ours afloat. And that we don't need to be everything to everybody, because we've got a God who's there holding us, supporting us. A God who looks at all of us today and says, folks, I know you're doing your best, and I'm so thankful for you. I'm here holding you up and keeping this life of yours afloat. I'll never let you go. Thanks be to God. Amen.